Let us begin with prayers. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Narayanam Namaskritya, Naram Chaiva Narottamam, Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet. Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Creation, Chapter 5, entitled Narad Muni's Instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam for Srila Vyasadeva. Text 38. Iti murtyabhidhanena mantramurtim mamurtikam yajate yajna purusham sasamyak darshanah puman. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravindra Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. Srila Narad Muni continued, thus he is the actual seer who worships in the form of transcendental sound representation the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, who has no material form. Purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Our present senses are all made of material elements, and therefore they are imperfect in realizing the transcendental form of Lord Vishnu. He is therefore worshipped by sound representation via the transcendental method of chanting. Anything which is beyond the scope of experience by our imperfect senses can be realized fully by the sound representation. A person transmitting sound from a far distant place can be factually experienced. If this is materially possible, why not spiritually? This experience is not a vague, impersonal experience. It is actually an experience of the transcendental personality of Godhead, who possesses the pure form of eternity, bliss, and knowledge. In the Amarakosha Sanskrit dictionary, the word murti carries import in twofold meanings, namely form and difficulty. Therefore, Amurtikam is explained by Acharya Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura as meaning without difficulty. The transcendental form of eternal bliss and knowledge can be experienced by our original spiritual senses, which can be revived by chanting of the holy mantras or transcendental sound representations. Such sound should be received from the transparent agency of the bona fide spiritual master, and the chanting may be practiced by the direction of the spiritual master. That will gradually lead us nearer to the Lord. This method of worship is recommended in the Pancharatrika system, which is both recognized and authorized. The Pancharatrika system has the most authorized codes for transcendental devotional service. Without the help of such codes, one cannot approach the Lord, certainly not by dry speculation, philosophical speculation. The Pancharatrika system is both practical and suitable for this age of quarrel. The Pancharatra is more important than the Vedanta for this modern age. Thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport. So Narad Muni is continuing to speak to his disciple, the great Vyasadeva, on the subject matter of devotional service. And in the previous shloka, Narad Muni had had actually chanted a mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Tubhyam Vasudevaya Dhimahi Pradyumnaya Niruddhaya Namah Sankarshanaya Cha. We had discussed about the quadruple expansions of the Supreme Lord, Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. And Narad Muni mentioned that let us chant the glories of the Lord and his expansions. So the Vishnu Tattva, the expansions of the Lord in various incarnations, are always worshipable for all the conditioned souls, not only human beings, but also the Devatas. Even great Devatas like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, they engage in the worship of these expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As we read in the Bhagavatam, Lord Shiva always meditates upon Sankarshana, the particular form of or expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Lord Brahma also is always engaged in worshipping Lord Vishnu. And we see in the Bhagavatam, Lord Brahma in several occasions he offers prayers to the Supreme Lord. And there is a particular prayer which Lord Brahma offers, praying for creative energy, because Brahma has to do the process of secondary creation within the material world. So, Lord Brahma, before beginning his process of secondary creation, he offers prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, praying to be blessed or empowered by the creative energy. So, like this, several places in the Bhagavatam, you will see that these expansions of the Lord are prayed to are, or worshipped by great personalities, including the most powerful demigods. Therefore, Narad Muni is saying in this shloka, Iti Murti Abhidhanena Mantra Murtim Amurtikam. The Lord is Amurtikam. Amurti means he has no material form. Not that he is formless, he has no material form. That is the meaning of Amurtikam. But he is Mantramurtim. Mantramurtim means he is non different from the sound vibration. He is non different from his holy name. So, therefore, he is Mantramurti, form representation of the transcendental sound. Iti, thus, Murti, representation, Abhidhanena. Abhidhana means the name or in the sound. Mantramurtim Amurtikam, the Lord who has no material form, but who is represented by the sound vibration. Yajate Yajna Purusham Sa Samyak Darshana Puman. So one who worships the Yajna Purusha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, particularly Lord Vishnu, who is actually the enjoyer of all Vedic sacrifices, such a personality is Saha, he alone, Samyak Darshanaha Puman. He has the perfect vision of the Supreme Lord. So Narad Muni is saying he is the actual seer who worships in the form of transcendental sound representation the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, who has no material form. So that means worshipping the Supreme Lord by chanting his holy names is actually a very, very elevated process, as mentioned by Narad Muni here. Srila Prabhupada also says chanting of the holy name is simultaneously simple and sublime. It is simple because anybody can chant without any prerequisite qualifications. Anybody can chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and there are no hard and fast rules for chanting. There are no restrictions for time, place, and circumstances. In any place, in any circumstance, at any time, one can chant the holy names of the Lord. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also mentions in the Shikshashtakam, Smaranena Kalaha. There are no restrictions with respect to time for chanting the holy names of the Lord. Anywhere, anytime, one can chant. So, therefore, the chanting is called simple because there are no hard and fast rules. Anybody can chant anytime without any prerequisite qualifications, one can chant. At the same time, it is sublime because by chanting the holy name, one can directly contact the Lord. There is no difference between the Lord and his holy name. Abhinnatvam nama naminaha, as Padma Purana mentions, there is no difference between the Lord and his holy name. So anybody who chants sincerely at once comes in contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is worshipable even for great devatas like Brahma and Shiva. That Supreme Personality of Godhead can be easily accessed simply by chanting the holy names of the Lord. So that is why Prabhupada says this chanting is sublime. So it is simple yet sublime. So Prabhupada mentions here anything which is beyond the scope of experience by our imperfect senses can be realized fully by the sound representation. So that which we cannot access through our material senses can be appreciated through Shabda, Shabda Pramana. In fact, why should we accept the Vedic statements to be authoritative, to be perfect? Because these Vedic statements are apaurushaya, they are not made by any person of this material world, but they are directly the word of the Lord. As such, they are non different from the Lord. And the Vedic knowledge is free from all defects. So, anybody who actually associates with this Vedic knowledge by the sound representation at once gets access to the personality of Godhead, right? So therefore, uh, Prabhupada is saying that which is not accessible to our material senses can be easily understood through the sound representation. In fact, the whole Vedic scriptures, the Vedic knowledge is called Brahman. Brahman means the supreme absolute truth. There is no difference between the Lord and the Vedic scriptures. Therefore, anybody who associates with these Vedic instructions, be it Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, the Upanishads, at once directly one comes in touch with the Supreme Lord. That's very important. So, among the three ways of acquiring knowledge, that is Pratyaksha Pramana, Anumana Pramana, and Shabda Pramana. Shabda Pramana is the best way because it gives us perfect knowledge. Pratyaksha Pramana involves using our senses to access knowledge, but our senses are themselves imperfect. Therefore, the knowledge which we try to gather through our imperfect senses will also be imperfect. Then, Anumana Pramana is theorizing, speculating based on the evidence that we have gathered through the sense perception. So, therefore, even that is prone to be imperfect. Whereas Shabda Pramana, if we receive the Vedic knowledge from a bona fide spiritual master who comes in the Parampara system, he can give us the perfect knowledge, and simply by hearing from such a bona fide source, one at once gets perfect understanding, perfect knowledge. So Shabda Pramana is the most uh, perfect method to acquire knowledge, and that is why so much stress is laid in the scriptures, especially Bhagavatam, on the process of Shravanam, right? So Prabhupada is giving an example here. A person transmitting sound from a far distant place can be factually experienced. If this is materially possible, why not spiritually? Prabhupada is saying. So we see this, right? Suppose you are talking to somebody over a phone call. Now, that person may be thousands of miles away from you, but by hearing to his voice, you can actually picturize his form. You can also remember his interactions with you in the past, and you can actually get a feeling that you are directly talking to that person, isn't it? Of course, now we have this video calling experience also where you can see the person face to face and talk, even though the person is thousands of miles away from us. But previously we had only phone conversations, or maybe let's say radio. So people were not able to see. It was not a visual medium for communication. It was only audio, phone call, telephone, or this radio. But by hearing to the voice of a particular person, immediately all the feelings and all the other experiences that we had with that person at once comes in front of our eyes, isn't it? So Prabhupada is saying if that is possible uh, in a material plane, then what to speak of the transcendental plane, the spiritual plane? The Lord, at once anybody who hears the holy name of the Lord attentively chanting, especially from the lips of a pure devotee, one at once can get complete experience of the Supreme Lord. That means chanting the holy names of the Lord uh, is equal to associating with the Lord in person. And when a devotee sincerely chants the holy names of the Lord, gradually the holy name, Nama Prabhu, will reveal the form, the pastimes, the paraphernalia, everything, the abode of the Lord, everything connected with the Lord will be gradually revealed to us. So that is the potency of chanting the holy names of the Lord. So therefore, that which our material senses cannot access can be experienced through the sound representation. अतः श्री कृष्ण नामादि न भवेत् ग्राह्यम इंद्रियैः सेवोन्मुखैः जिह्वादौ स्वयमेव स्फुरत्यदः. There is another statement from the Padma Purana which says, by our materially blunt senses, which we have currently, we cannot understand the Supreme Lord, His name, form, qualities, pastimes, etc. But by engaging our tongue, all the senses, beginning with the tongue, if we engage in the service of the Lord, then automatically everything will be revealed to us. So, therefore, chanting and hearing are so important angas of the practice of devotional service. Then Prabhupada also mentions in the purport about the Pancharatra system. Now, what is this Pancharatra system? Actually, it is given by Narad Muni himself. It is called Narada Pancharatra. Instructions which were given during 5 nights, that is called Pancharatra. So, this Pancharatra system given by Narad Muni, it enables one to engage one's senses in the service of the Lord through the process of deity worship. So, Pancharatra Vidhi is all about worshipping the personal form of the Lord as a deity in the temple. And the deity of the Lord is also non different from the Lord. And for the installation of the deity in the temple, it is the same Vedic mantras which act as a via medium to when it is chanted by the devotees of the Lord agrees to come and reside within the deity and receive the services of the devotees. So therefore, Prabhupada is saying the method of worship is recommended in the Pancharatra system, which is both recognized and authorized. Hmm. So this Pancharatra Vidhi, it has several instructions on how to render devotional service to the Lord, especially the deity worship. And simply by dry speculation, it is not possible to understand the Lord, but by following this Pancharatrika Vidhi, it is possible for one to approach the Lord. So that is the point. And this Pancharatra Vidhi is also given to us by Narad Muni. Let's go to the next text 39. Imam swanigamam brahman avetya anushtitam adan me jnanamaishwaryam swasmin bhavam cha keshavaha. Translation and purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Translation: O Brahmana, thus by the Supreme Lord Krishna, I was endowed first with the transcendental knowledge of the Lord, as inculcated in the confidential parts of the Vedas, then with the spiritual opulences, and then with his intimate loving service. Purport: communion with the Lord by transmission of the transcendental sound is non different from the whole Spirit, Lord Sri Krishna. It is a completely perfect method for approaching the Lord. By such pure contact with the Lord, without offense of material conceptions, numbering 10, the devotee can rise above the material plane to understand the inner meaning of the Vedic literatures, including the Lord's existence in the transcendental realm. The Lord reveals his identity gradually to one who has unflinching faith both in the spiritual master and in the Lord. After this, the devotee is endowed with mystic opulences, which are eight in number. And above all, the devotee is accepted in the confidential entourage of the Lord and is entrusted with specific service of the Lord through the agency of the spiritual master. A pure devotee is more interested in serving the Lord than in showing an exhibition of the mystic powers dormant in him. Sri Narada has explained all these from his personal experience, and one can obtain all the facilities which Sri Narada obtained by perfecting the chanting process of the sound representation of the Lord. There is no bar for chanting this transcendental sound by anyone, provided it is received through Narada's representative coming down by the chain of disciplic succession or the parampara system. So Narad Muni is saying, Imam Swanigamam Brahman. Swanigamam. Nigama means Vedic literatures. Swanigamam, Prabhupada translates it as confidential knowledge of the Vedas in respect to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Swanigamam, Brahman, O Brahmana, that is Vyasadeva, Avetya, knowing it well, Mat Anushtitam, as was executed by me, Adat, bestowed upon me, Jnanam Aishwaryam Swasmin. By practicing this knowledge which was bestowed upon me by the Bhakti Vedantas, what did I gain? Narad Muni is saying, Jnanam Aishwaryam. So the Narad Muni says, by executing the orders given by the Bhakti Vedantas, that is the confidential part of the Vedic scriptures, that is devotional service to the Lord, I got Jnanam, transcendental knowledge, and Aishwaram, I also gained opulence, the mystic powers. Swasmin Bhavan Cha Keshavaha. And not only that, I got intimate affection and love for Keshava, for Lord Krishna. Now, this is the result of diligently following the instructions given by a bona fide spiritual master. So, Narad Muni is saying his own personal experience as a case study he is giving. So, I was first endowed with transcendental knowledge of the Lord as inculcated in the confidential parts of the Vedas, then with the spiritual opulences, and then with the intimate loving service. Right? So, first, one begins with association with pure devotee, through whom one gets transcendental knowledge. Then one advances spiritually, and in the progress of one's spiritual life, a pure devotee also gains mystic opulences, the yoga siddhis, and also one gets ultimately the intimate loving service of the Lord. So gradually it happens one after the other. Now for this, starting point is Shraddha. Adav Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha. So first, Shraddha is very important. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he says, what is Shraddha? Shraddha means Sudruda Nishchaya, firm conviction that simply by serving Krishna, one can attain perfection in life. This is called Shraddha. We should have firm conviction that simply if I take up Krishna consciousness and execute the orders of my spiritual master, then I can attain complete perfection. This is faith. Now, without faith, it is not possible for us to make progress in devotional service. Now, Srila Prabhupada explains not only in the spiritual realm, spiritual life, but even in our day to day life, for our daily transactions in this material world, also, faith is so essential. For example, if somebody goes to book a ticket to travel to London, one goes to a, say for example, he goes to a travel agency, and the travel agency asks you to pay thousands or lakhs of rupees, and in return The travel agent gives you only a piece of paper, a ticket, and says you should come to this particular airport on this day at this time. And the flight will be there. You have to go board the flight and it will take you to London. But if you say, no, 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 first show me London, only then I can pay you the money. Is it possible in this way to ever go to London? It's not possible. So one must have a faith that this is a authorized, government recognized travel agency. In the past, many people have booked their tickets through this travel agency. They have gone to London and they have come back also. So, based on this faith, reasonable faith, I shall pay the money and receive the ticket, and then I shall come on that particular day mentioned on the ticket, and I shall go to London. So, this is called faith and revelation. First, you have faith, you follow the process, and over a period of time, the result will be revealed to you. The same is the case with education system also. Suppose somebody wants to become a engineer. He goes to the first on the first day he goes to the college for admission process. Now you cannot say first give me the degree certificate, then I will pay the amount. No, it's not possible that way. First you have to go through the official process of admission. You pay the fees, get admitted into the college, and 4 years there will be 8 semesters. You have to go through all those curriculum, internal assessments, project work, and final examinations at the end of each semesters. And then at the end of those 4 years, once you complete all these course, you will get a degree certificate. This is called faith and revelation. This is very, very important. So same thing applies in spiritual life also. So we must have faith in the instructions of the scriptures, faith in the instructions of the spiritual master, and with faith, one must execute the orders given by the spiritual master. And then gradually, as one proceeds, one's faith becomes stronger and stronger, then more and more things about the Lord will be revealed during the course of one's advancement in spiritual life. So, it is faith is so important. So Prabhupada is saying, actually, this is mentioned in the Upanishad. Yasya deve para bhaktir yatha devo tatha gurau tasyaita katita hi artham prakashante mahatmanaha. This is a scriptural statement from the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, where it is said, one who has unflinching faith simultaneously in both the spiritual master and the Supreme Lord. Unto such a devotee, the Lord will reveal the imports of all the Vedic scriptures. So one must have the same amount of faith as we have in the Lord, in the spiritual master also. Yatha deve tatha gurau. Whatever faith one has in the Deva, in the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, the same amount of faith one must also have in the spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. This is the secret of success for one's advancement in spiritual life. Without going through the spiritual master's instruction, one cannot actually approach Krishna and become admitted into the confidential entourage of Lord Krishna in the spiritual world. It is not possible. So that is the whole point. So Shraddha is so important. Even in the third canto of Bhagavatam, while instructing Mother Devahuti, Lord Kapila Deva says this: Shraddha Ratir Bhaktir Anukramishya. Anukramana means one after the other. First is Shraddha, then Ratihi, attachment or attraction for the Lord, and then Bhakti. Here, Bhakti refers to loving service of the Lord. So, first one starts with faith and executes the orders of the spiritual master, and one progresses to Rati. Rati means attraction for the Lord. And after this attraction solidifies, one comes to the Prema stage, Prema Bhakti stage, where one engages wholeheartedly in the loving service of the Lord. So this is going to happen gradually. It is not going to happen overnight. It is going to happen gradually over a period of time. So for that, faith in the spiritual master is most essential. Without the faith, it is not possible for advancing in spiritual life. One more thing that Narad Muni mentions here is, because he had so much faith in the Bhakti Vedantas, the pure devotees of the Lord, and he associated with them and he received the transcendental knowledge from them and he started practicing devotional service. What happened after that? He says he actually got the eightfold mystic powers. Actually, he a pure devotee of the Lord, since he is always in touch with the Lord magnanimously shares his opulences and powers with his pure devotees. So the pure devotees of the Lord also have those powers, like these eight opulences: Anima, Laghima, Garima, Ishitva, Vasitva, Prapti, Parakamya. These are all the different yoga siddhis. Anima means becoming smaller than the smallest. Laghima means becoming lighter than the lightest. Garima means becoming heavier than the heaviest. Mahima means becoming bigger than the biggest. Like this, there are so many eight opulences. So, a pure devotee of the Lord, because he is fully engaged in the loving service of the Lord, he becomes the recipient of all these yoga siddhis, right? But if one gets diverted towards these yoga siddhis and forgets the service of the Lord, such a person in the Bhagavatam is called Kuyogi. Kuyogi means a fallen yogi or a bad yogi, one who does not know what is the actual purpose of life. There are a lot of people who perform Ashtanga yoga and their goal is to become a great yogi by possessing so many mystic powers. And why do they want to possess these mystic powers? Because they want to control or lord it over the material nature. And they also want to gain name and fame by cheating the innocent public. So, such people cannot be called real yogis. A yogi is one, as Krishna mentions in the 6th chapter, 47th shloka, the last shloka of the 6th chapter. Krishna says, Yoginam api sarvesham madgatena antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yuktatamo mataha. Lord Krishna says, in my opinion, now Krishna's opinion is very important. Me mataha, mataha means opinion. Krishna's opinion is the highest. It's the most important. It is most, uh, revered opinion. So Krishna is saying, among all the yogis, he who is always engaged in my transcendental devotional service, meditating upon me with great faith, such a yogi is the topmost yogi. So, therefore, a pure devotee is actually called the topmost yogi. And Krishna consciousness is called the topmost yoga process because it enables us to directly get in touch with the Supreme Lord and engage in His loving devotional service. But those who get attracted or carried away by these mystic opulences and give up devotional service to the Lord, such people are actually not real yogis. They are actually cheaters. Now, Prabhupada gave an example. Prabhupada narrated one nice story. In a village, there was a young man, and this young man, from his childhood, he was fond of acquiring yoga siddhis. So, after some number of years, he went away to Himalayas. He left the village and went to Himalayas, and there he executed severe yogic tapasya with the goal of acquiring some mystic yogic siddhi. So he performed tapasya for several years, for many decades. And because of this, he had become very lean and he had grown a lot of hair, long beard and all of that. Now, by the end of that uh, several decades, he attained one siddhi called Laghima Siddhi. Laghima, Laghu means light, Be- becoming very light. That is called Laghima Siddhi. So he was so excited. So he came back to his village. And there was an announcement made throughout the village that such a person from our village who had gone to the Himalayas for yogic tapasya many decades ago has now attained yogic perfection, and he has now come back to our village. He has made all the villagers proud. This evening all of you are requested to come by the river bank, and this yogi Maharaj is going to display his special powers that he has got in the Himalayas. So, like that, there was an announcement was made, and all the innocent villagers they all came to that place on the banks of the river in the evening, and the yogi was also there. So they were all very excited. Oh, what kind of mystic power is going to display? Like that, they were all very excited and eager to see. So what he did was, this yogi said, "See, my dear villagers, now after several years of tapasya in Himalayas, I have attained this perfection of walking on the water. I'm able to walk on the water, and in front of your eyes, you will be able to see this." So, saying like this yogi started walking on the water. So, he went from one side of the river, one bank of the river, walked on the water, reached the other bank, and again he walked from that bank and came back to this side of the river where all the villagers were standing. So all the villagers, they were so happy. They were all whistling and clapping, and they were all feeling so proud. They were saying, "You have made our village so proud. You attained this great success walking on the water. You're able to cross the river without the help of any boat. You're able to cross. This is such a great achievement." Like that, everybody was, uh, you know, glorifying that yogi. But among those villagers, there was one intelligent young man. Now he came forward and said, "My dear yogi, it's very nice. Whatever power you have displayed, you're able to walk on the water. That's so nice. And you have done decades of tapasya for this. It's very nice, commendable. But I feel whatever power you have acquired, it is only 50 paisa worth. Whatever power you have acquired, no, crossing this river, walking on the water, it is only 50 paisa worth." He said like this. And hearing this, all the villagers were shocked, and the yogi was very angry. "How dare you say, decades of my hard work, tapasya, you are saying it is only 50 paisa worth? Why are you saying like this?" So then the young man said, "Please don't become angry, O yogi. Why I'm saying, because if I just pay 50 paisa to the boatman will take me to the other side of the river. And my work is done. I can easily cross the river by paying 50 paisa. For this, you wasted decades of your time, of your lifetime. What is a great achievement in this?" Like this, the yogi, the young man said. So Prabhupada narrates this story. The lesson from this story is what human life is not simply meant for getting some powers, mystic powers, and making a show of it. It's actually a waste of time if we don't become a devotee of the Lord, isn't it? So as the young man pointed out, simply by paying 50 paisa, one can easily cross over the river. For this, why should one go to Himalayas and in that cold, severe cold, do some tapasya, get some power, and come back and show to the world, "See how great I am, yogi I am"? What is the use of this? Actually, real achievement is if one can actually become, mm, you know, a devotee of the Lord. In the Mukundamala Stotra, Maharaj Kulashekara says in the very beginning, this chanting of the holy names, the holy name of the Lord is Janma Sapalya Mantram, Japa Japa Krishna Mantram. He says, O people in this material world, if you want to make your life successful, Janma Sapalya, if you want to attain perfection of your life, don't waste time with that process, this process. Japa Japa Krishna Mantram. You simply chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the holy names of Lord Krishna. You chant. Then your life becomes successful. Hmm? Why are you simply wasting time with so many other things? In fact, this is what Sripada Shankaracharya also said. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Mudhamate, Samprapte Sannihite Kale, Nahi Nahi Rakshati Drakam Karane. So he said, "Oh, great, scholars, you are talking about big, big grammar rules and all of that. But what is the use of all this? At the end of your life, your grammar rules are not going to save you from Yamaraja and Yamadutas. Therefore, only Govinda can save you. Therefore, why don't you chant the name of Govinda? Why don't you serve Govinda? Bhaja Govindam." So this is what Shankaracharya said. So therefore, we should know what is the purpose of life and what is the ultimate perfection of life. If we don't have understanding of this, then simply we will get carried away by so many promises made in the Karma Kanda section of the Vedic scriptures. That is why Krishna warns us in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Yamimam pushpitam vacham pravadanti avipaschitaha. Avipaschitaha means one who is not intelligent. Such a person gets carried away by the flowery language of the Vedas. The Vedas promise, oh, you do this yajna, do this tapasya, you can go to heaven, Swargaloka, and there you can enjoy long duration of life. There you can enjoy the company of apsaras. There you can have long duration of life, body fit for sense enjoyment. You will enjoy greater standard of sense gratification. All of these things. So Krishna says, no, don't get carried away by all this. Surrender to me. Krishna is saying this in the Bhagavad Gita, right? Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna. All these yogic powers, all these things are within the three modes of material nature, will keep us entangled in the cycle of birth and death. Only by surrendering to Krishna and engaging in his devotional service, we can transcend the three gunas. So Krishna is saying, Traigunya Vishaya Veda. The Vedas mainly talk about the three gunas only. They keep you trapped in the three gunas. Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna. But oh Arjuna, I want you to become Nistraigunya, become free from the influence of the three gunas. Now, how to become free from the influence of three gunas? That Krishna tells in the 14th chapter. Krishna says, Mam chayo avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Krishna says, if you engage in unalloyed, undeviating devotional service to me, bhakti yogena sevate. Through bhakti yoga, if you serve me undeviatingly and in a pure manner without desiring any other things, if you simply serve me, then what happens? Sagunan samatityaitan. You can become free from the influence of the three gunas. And Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. You can come to the spiritual platform. You can realize me. So that is the whole point. So Narad Muni, even though he got all these Ashtasiddhis, Prabhupada mentions a pure devotee is more interested in serving the Lord than in showing an exhibition of the mystic powers dormant in him. So it's not that Prabhupada did not have these mystic powers. Because he's a pure devotee empowered by the Lord, definitely he has all those mystic powers, but he's not interested in showing off those powers. In the modern age, if somebody has some little power, some little wealth, some little ability to speak well or to do something, they want to make it a big news. They want to attract everybody through those abilities. Pure devotee is not interested in such cheap adoration. So he tells, I am a servant of the Lord, and you come to me, I will also teach you how to become a first class servant of the Lord. This is the mood of Prabhupada or any pure devotee, Acharya, who comes in a bona fide parampara system. So Narad Muni is also like that. So he's not interested in displaying all these powers, though he has them. He sometimes displays only if it is required, according to the will of the Lord. For the service of the Lord, a pure devotee might display these powers, but otherwise, generally, he's not interested in displaying those powers. And one important thing that Prabhupada says is, Sri Narad Muni has explained all these from his personal experience, and one can obtain all the facilities which Sri Narada obtained by perfecting the chanting process of the sound representation of the Lord. There is no bar for chanting this transcendental sound by anyone, provided it is received through Narada's representative coming down by the chain of disciplic succession or the parampara system. So, Prabhupada is saying one can attain all of these simply by chanting the holy names. One can attain all this transcendental knowledge, one can attain mystic opulences, and above that, over and above that, one can attain personal service at the lotus feet of Krishna. All these can be obtained if you simply perfect the process of chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And there are no hard and fast rules for chanting, but the only condition is the mantra, the holy name, has to be received from a pure devotee representative of Narad Muni who is coming in the parampara system. This is very important. Even though the holy name of the Lord is very powerful, but it has to be received from a bona fide spiritual master who is coming in the parampara system. Then it will be very effective. In fact, Prabhupada quotes from the Padma Purana and says, Sampradaya vihina ye mantraste nishphala mataha. It is said, without receiving the mantra, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra or any mantra, from a bona fide spiritual master who is coming in a sampradaya, the mantra will be nishphala. It will not produce the desired effect. Even though the holy name of the Lord is very powerful, but it has to be received from a pure devotee spiritual master who comes in the bona fide parampara system. That's the only condition. Let's go to the last shloka of this chapter, text 40. Tvamapyabhat त्वमप्यदभ्रश्रुतविश्रुतं विभोः समाप्यते येन विदा बुभुत्सिताम् प्राख्याहि दुःखैर्मुहुरर्दितात्मनाम् संक्लेशनिर्वाणमुशन्ति नान्यथा. Translation and purport by Vishwaguru Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Please, therefore, describe the Lord, Almighty Lord's activities which you have learned by your vast knowledge of the Vedas, for that will satisfy the hankerings of great learned men and at the same time mitigate the miseries of the masses of common people who are always suffering from material pangs. Indeed, there is no other way to get out of such miseries. Purport. Sri Narad Muni, from practical experience, definitely asserts that the prime solution of all problems of material work is to broadcast very widely the transcendental glories of the Supreme Lord. There are four classes of good men and there are four classes of bad men also. The four classes of good men acknowledge the authority of the Almighty God, and therefore such good men: 1. When they are in difficulty; 2. When they are in need of money; 3. When they are advanced in knowledge; and 4. When they are inquisitive to know more and more about God, intuitively take shelter of the Lord. As such, Naradji advises Vyasadeva to broadcast the transcendental knowledge of God in terms of the vast Vedic knowledge which he has already attained. As far as the bad men are concerned, they are also four in number. 1. Those who are simply addicted to the mode of progressive fruitive work and thus are subjected to the accompanying miseries. 2. Those who are simply addicted to vicious work for sense satisfaction and so suffer the consequence. 3. Those who are materially very much advanced in knowledge but who suffer because they do not have the sense to acknowledge the authority of the Almighty Lord. And 4. The class of men who are known as atheists and who therefore purposely hate the very name of God, although they are always in difficulty. Sri Naradji advised Vyasadeva to describe the glories of the Lord just to do good to all eight classes of men, both good and bad. Srimad Bhagavatam is therefore not meant for any particular class of men or sect. It is for the sincere soul who actually wants his own welfare and peace of mind. Thus end the Bhakti Vedanta purports of the first canto, fifth chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Narada's Instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam for Vyasadeva. So Narad Muni is concluding his instructions to Vyasadeva. He says, Tvamapi adabhra shruta. Tvamapi, your good soul, also adabhra. Adabhra means vast. Shruta means Vedic literatures. Vishrutam, you have heard also. You have heard very nicely, elaborately all the Vedic scriptures. Samapyate yena vidam bubupsitam. Samapyate means satisfied, by which. Vidam means the learned people. Bubupsitam means who always desire to learn transcendental knowledge. Prakhyahi. Ahi means to speak. Prakhyahi means to nicely describe, to speak. Prakhyahi dukkaihi muhuhu ardita atmanam. There are a lot of people in this material world who are again and again subjected to various miseries. They are suffering mass of people. So for their benefit, you should describe what you should do. Sanklesha nirvana mushanti nanyatha. You should describe the transcendental glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because of which sanklesha, the miseries or sufferings, nirvanam, there will be mitigation. And ushanti na, do not get out of anyatha by other means. There is no other means to get out of these miseries. There is only one means is to take to devotional service of the Lord. So in the material world, everybody is suffering. So they are suffering because they have forgotten Krishna. So, oh great Vyasadeva, I want you to describe nicely the transcendental glories and activities of the Supreme Lord Krishna, and with the help of the knowledge that you have gained by studying the Vedas, you have to describe the pastimes of Krishna. And this will not only satisfy the hankerings of learned people, it will also help the people who are suffering, the masses who are suffering various miseries in the material world, to come out of those material pangs. And there is no other way to come out of these miseries. Therefore, please describe the Lord's activities. This is the final instruction of Narad Muni. And of course, in the next chapter also, we shall see the conversation continues between Narad Muni and Vyasadeva. But here, uh, Narad Muni is giving a conclusion of all these descriptions, whatever he said from the beginning of this chapter, and then he described his past life, how he was benefited by the association of the pure devotees of the Lord, and all that. So Narad Muni is saying, therefore, the only means is you should induce the common people to take to Krishna consciousness. You have to write such a literature which will help people to take up Krishna consciousness or Krishna bhakti, and because that is the only remedial measure to get out of all kinds of miseries and sufferings. So, Prabhupada writes in the purport there are 8 classes of men. 4 are pious, good people, and 4 are impious, bad people. Actually, Prabhupada is quoting this from the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, there are 4 kinds of people who surrender to me. Who are those? Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana sukrutino arjuna artho artharti jignasut jnani bharatar O Bharatar O best of the Bharata dynasty, descendants of Bharata. There are 4 kinds of people who are Sukrutinaha, who are pious. They surrender to me, they take up devotional service. Who are they? Number 1, Artha, one who is going through some problem, some misery in life. Artha. Artharthi, second one who is desiring wealth. Third one is Jnani, one who is already situated in topmost knowledge. And fourth one is Jignasu, one who is inquisitive in nature, one who wants to know more and more about the absolute truth. So these 4 kinds of people, if they are Sukrutinaha, if they are pious, they take up Krishna consciousness. Now, if they are impious, they will never take up Krishna consciousness. So some kind of piety is required. Krishna also says this in the Bhagavad Gita, that one who has acted piously both in this life and in the past, only such a person can remain steady on the path of Krishna consciousness. Right? So therefore, some amount of piety is required. Now, this piety is nothing but the desire of the living entity to engage in devotional service. And how one acquires this piety, that is also explained. It is the acharyas, the pure devotees, who make arrangements for the living entities to acquire Ajnata Sukruti. In one of the purports in the same chapter we had read, where Prabhupada mentions that the acharyas, for example, they construct temples, big temples of the Lord. A person who has no transcendental knowledge, a common layman, can also come to the temple, bow down in front of the Lord, appreciate the beauty of the Lord, the deity, take some prasadam and charanamrit, or appreciate the festivals that are being conducted so nicely in the temple. So when a layman appreciates all of these things, he accumulates Ajnata Sukruti, which will later on mature into devotional service at the right time. So therefore, pure devotees, the acharyas, create opportunities for the laymen, for the materialistic people of this world, to accumulate the Sukruti, so that when the Sukruti is accumulated to a certain degree after many lifetimes, one will be able to take up the process of Krishna consciousness, again by the mercy of a pure devotee. So, therefore, those who are in distress, or those who are hankering after wealth, or those who are in knowledge, or those who are inquisitive, four kinds of people, they take up Krishna consciousness if they have enough sukruti. Now, these are called the four good men by Prabhupada in this purport, and there are bad men also. They are impious, dushkrutinaha. Uh, who are these dushkrutinaha? Those who are not taking up Krishna consciousness. They are called dushkrutinaha. Hmm? Now, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Namam dushkrutino mudha prapadyante naradhamaha mayaya apahrita jnanam asuram bhavam ashritaha. Four kinds of people who are dushkrutinaha, miscreants, will never take up Krishna consciousness. Who are those people? Namam dushkrutino mudha. Prabhupada is explaining one by one these people. Those who are simply addicted to fruitive work. Hmm? They simply want to do accumulate some uh, fruitive results. So they work very hard, hmm, but they don't get what they desire. They're only suffering one after the other, various miseries. Namam dushkrutino muda. They are mudha, foolish people. Hmm? And uh, second one is those who are simply interested in sense enjoyment. They're also dushkrutinaha. They're not interested in Krishna consciousness, but they're interested more in satisfying their own senses. And those who are Mayaya Apahrita Jnana, those whose knowledge is stolen by Maya. That means they are very puffed up, thinking that they are very accomplished, very knowledgeable materially, but they don't accept the authority of the Supreme Lord. They don't surrender to the Lord. So, such people are those whose knowledge has been stolen away by the illusory energy, Maya. They don't surrender to Krishna. And Asuram Bhavam Ashritaha, those who have taken to the atheistic way of life. uh, They hate the Lord because they declare that there is no God, and they are so envious of God. And therefore, such people, these are the four kinds of people. They are called Asura, Asuram Bhavam Ashrita. They have partaken the atheistic way of living. So, demons, demoniac people. So Prabhupada mentions four kinds of good people who want to surrender to God, and four kinds of bad people who do not want to surrender to God. Bhagavatam is meant for the benefit of all these eight kinds of people, because Bhagavatam, the pastimes of the Lord are described so nicely that even if one has asura bhava, even if one has atheistic propensity, demoniac quality, he gets attracted to the beautiful pastimes of Krishna described in the Bhagavatam. And by such description, by getting attraction to such description of the Lord, one can actually make progress and attain the ultimate goal of life. Prabhupada gives one story for this also. We see the example of a thief who actually went to Vrindavan. It's a beautiful story that Prabhupada mentions. Once there was a thief who sat in the Bhagavatam class. Though the Bhagavatam class was actually given by a professional reciter, not a devotee, means he was actually uh, making a profession out of it. For his livelihood, he was giving this Bhagavatam class. But a thief was sitting and he was hearing the Bhagavatam descriptions very keenly. And there he heard that Krishna is a small boy in Vrindavan, and Mother Yashoda sends him every day to the forest along with the other cowherd boys to graze the cows. Now, before sending, Mother Yashoda leisurely she decorates the body of Krishna with various kinds of jewels, and there is a description of different kinds of jewels that the reciter was giving in the class. And a king, the thief got actually attracted to the description of these jewels, and he was thinking, oh, if I can meet this child, he's just a child and he has so many jewels and he is alone in the forest. If I go and talk to him, somehow I can steal all these jewels from this boy. The thief started thinking like that. Then, after some time in the class, the reciter also mentioned that Krishna never leaves Vrindavan and goes. He's always to be found in the bushes of Vrindavan. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Krishna always, he's residing in the bushes, kunjas of Vrindavana. So when he got this information, the thief became very alert and he at once left the class and started walking towards Vrindavan. Long distance he had to go. But all the while he was walking, he was remembering the description of the beauty of Krishna, how Mother Yashoda was dressing Krishna with various ornaments and jewels. Constantly he was meditating on Krishna in this way. So he went to Vrindavan after many days of travel, and he went to the bushes of Vrindavan and started calling out for Krishna. And his call was so genuine that Krishna appeared in front of him. And the thief could see exactly Krishna was a small boy, just as he had heard in the Bhagavatam class. And he also could see the various ornaments with which Mother Yashoda had decorated Krishna. Now he was so excited. So he started talking. He said, I will talk to this boy and I will somehow manipulate him and take away all the jewels. So when he started talking initially, he said, at some point, he said, Krishna, like, can you please give me these jewels? So Krishna, imitating like a normal small boy, he said, "No, no, no, I cannot give you these jewels because if I lose these jewels, my mother will scold me. She will beat me when I go back home in the evening. She will be very unhappy. I'm so sorry, I cannot give you these jewels." Like this, the talk went on, and at some point, Krishna told, "Okay, you're asking me so much. Take these jewels. You can take all these jewels now." But by that time, because of the constant meditation on Krishna during the journey, and because of seeing Krishna face to face, the thief's heart had actually transformed. The thief said, My dear Krishna, I don't want any of your jewels, but I want you. I want to become your devotee, your servant. Please engage me in your service. Like this, he surrendered to Krishna. So Prabhupada narrates this story to tell us that how even a person with evil intention, if somehow or the other he hears Bhagavatam, especially about Krishna's childhood pastimes, if he hears carefully, all his evil intentions will go away and he will also develop an inclination to surrender to Krishna. That is the potency of Srimad Bhagavatam. That is why it is called Nigama Kalpataror Galitam Phalam. It is the most ripened fruit. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the most ripened fruit of the tree of Vedic wisdom. Therefore, anybody can read it. That is why Prabhupada, even much before coming to the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Prabhupada wrote the Krishna book. Krishna book is nothing but the summary study of the entire 10th canto of Bhagavatam, which contains the beautiful pastimes of Krishna. So in Dwaraka and then later on in Mathura and then Vrindavan, all these leelas are described very nicely. So when one reads, Prabhupada says, just by reading this book, Krishna book, one can develop pure love for Krishna. Just by reading Krishna book, one can become a pure devotee of Krishna and go back to Godhead. Prabhupada said. Therefore, every day we must read Krishna book, especially before going to bed, at least for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, some portion. Many chapters are very small, some chapters are long, but at least for 10, 15 minutes, if you can read Krishna book, and this is the best way to meditate on Krishna and fix our mind on Krishna. So Narad Muni instructed Vyasadeva to compile Srimad Bhagavatam so that both pious people and impious people get benefited by hearing and reading Bhagavatam so that they can actually attain the highest perfection of life. So we can see in this conversation between Narad Muni and Vyasadeva the eagerness of Narad Muni to deliver this pure transcendental message of Bhagavatam to the people of Kali Yuga so that they all can become benefited and go back to Godhead. That is the mood of a pure devotee. Pure devotee is paradukha dukhi. When others are in miseries, pure devotees feel for it. They want to actually mitigate the miseries. And the only way to mitigate all the miseries that we are experiencing in this material world is to end our material existence and go back to Krishna. That is the only way. All other means we may try to adjust, we may try to, come up with some material remedies to solve our problems. But as Prahlad Maharaj says in the seventh canto of Bhagavatam, the solutions that we invent to solve our material problems, those material solutions themselves create more problems. The misery is there. To solve the misery, we are coming up with some solution, but the solution creates more miseries. Dukkha tadapi dukkham. It creates more dukkha. So therefore, for material problems, material solutions are not the solutions. For material problems, there can be only spiritual solution. And Srimad Bhagavatam is actually meant for that. It is meant to mitigate all our material miseries at once by making us surrender to the lotus feet of Krishna, by making us fully Krishna conscious, so that we can become fortunate enough to go back to the spiritual world. And this Srimad Bhagavatam must be received from the person Bhagavatam. So we are very fortunate to have these Bhaktivedanta purports written by Srila Prabhupada, who is a pure representative of Narad Muni. And by Prabhupada's mercy and compassion, we are able to little bit appreciate Srimad Bhagavatam. And by regular study of Bhagavatam, one becomes successful in fulfilling the goal of life. Once Prabhupada said, Srimad Bhagavatam is like a sweet. It's like a laddu, a sweet. From any side you bite, it will be sweet only, right? That is the nature of Bhagavatam. So therefore, we must relish Bhagavatam, develop attraction, attachment to hear Bhagavatam on a daily basis. So we have completed the fifth chapter of the first canto. Tomorrow we shall be starting the sixth chapter, that is conversation between Narad Muni and Vyasadeva. Further conversation, we will read that. And finally, at the end of this conversation, Narad Muni goes back, and at that time Vyasadeva, becomes convinced that he has to write Srimad Bhagavatam, and that is what will make him satisfied, and that will make the whole world satisfied. So, because of this wonderful conversation, we are having the Bhagavatam with us today, and we will start this sixth chapter tomorrow. Thank you very much for your time. If anyone has any question or any doubt, quickly we can take up one or two questions if anyone has. Otherwise, we can close the session. Okay, so thank you. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Vishwa Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you.